Hello, welcome to the Don Brooks Show. Hey, gang, and my beverage of choice on this episode is green. No, it's not green. No, it's not green. Peppermint tea. I'm so used to drinking green tea that I forgot this is actually peppermint tea, and it is delicious. Okay, let's get into the show. This is an exciting show, I think. You know, I was born and raised in Austin, and I think I am qualified to talk about Austin. So, this is me talking about this great city, if you will, Austin, but also the good and the not so good, because we're going to give a little history, a recent history uh, about Austin. And I'm going to do something I think is exciting. When I was a kid growing up in Austin, there was a radio station, KNOW. And anybody who was around my age, a little before or a little after, remember this song about the city of Austin. It took me a long time to find it. I still couldn't find the lyrics. But anyway, let's enjoy this, and then we're going to discuss it. Let me tell you about my hometown, home of the Tower Light. The only city in the world that has moonlight every night. Colorado River, capital of the Lone Star State. Treaty of Texas, you can all be found in Austin, Austin. That's my hometown. We're proud to say that O. Henry was lived and wrote right here. Lake Austin, Marble Falls, and Granite shows right here. The Interregional Highway and Congress Avenue. Birds from Air Force Base, a big bird that sounds in Austin, Austin. That's my hometown. We're always the orange on the tower, that means victory. Austin Municipal Airport is Southern connectivity. Big KNOW is a modern town of Austin, Austin. That's my hometown. Austin, Austin. That's my hometown. Oh man. That takes me back a while. Yeah, that takes me back. Yeah, Austin, my hometown. That was the name. I tried to cut it off, and I had a problem cutting it off. But anyway, yeah. Uh, why did I play that? For two reasons. I like the jingle. It was out when I was a kid, when I first started listening to top 40 pop radio. And there was only one station in Austin that played pop top 40 radio, and that was KNOW. And they play that jingle quite often. Now, I say the only station. Now, there was a couple of other stations, but we had one called Rosewood Ramble, Dr. Hepcat. You got to go really far back to remember that, you Austinites. But it only came on a couple of hours during the day. And then we had KTAE, which was not in Austin. It was in Taylor, Texas. Uh, but they only stayed on a couple of hours a day. KNOW stayed on 24 hours, and they played the music that young America wanted to listen to. KNOW. And that was their jingle. But I want to talk about some things that they mentioned in the song. I tried to find the lyrics, but I couldn't. They mentioned the capital of the Lone Star State. Yes, that's Austin. They mentioned home of the Tower Lights. We were one of the first cities to have Tower Lights. And then they also mentioned moonlight every night. And if I'm not mistaken, Austin was one of the first cities to have lights on the highway. They talked about interregional highway. At one point in time, there was not a highway. It was called East Avenue, and it wasn't even paved. So you got to remember this is going back a long ways. They talk about UT, orange being on the tower, meaning when the tower is lit up with orange, that means UT won. They talk about old Henry, the great writer. He lived here for a while. They mention him. Lake Austin, Congress Avenue, Big Bertha. They said Big Bertha said. Now, Big Bertha, if you're a UT person, if you got to know that was a big, I guess, drug, big, whatever they call it, you beat it. That was Big Bertha. And I want to say, they talked about Bergstrom Air Force, airport, which is where the planes used to come. Well, they still come there, but that was the Air Force base. They moved the Air Force base away, still called it Bergstrom, and then they changed the airport from where it was in, I guess, Central Austin. Or was it Central Austin where the airport was off of 51st Street, Berkman? I'm not sure. But they moved that airport to where Bergstrom, when Bergstrom vacated. So this is dated, and that's one thing I like about it. But speaking of Congress Avenue, this is where you get the good and the not so good. People of my persuasion, me and black people. The only time we would go down on Congress Avenue was mainly to sightsee as a kid. We'd catch the bus and go down to Congress Avenue and walk up and down Congress Avenue. That was exciting. But we had to beware of the stores that we went into. And we didn't want to sit in the lunch counters because we couldn't. We couldn't. Can you believe that? Austin, Texas. It was no different from most cities. It was segregated. The big difference, though, is I consider them having a gentleman's agreement. And they consider, well, we can't let the whites and the blacks be together, so we'll put them in East Austin. This happened way, way, way before I was coming up. This is way back, turn of the century, in the 20s and all that stuff. But we're going to give them nice accommodations. They call it separate but equal, but we know that's not the truth. But anyway, it was a gentleman's agreement. We were not treated like our white counterparts were, and saying that doesn't mean that it was right, but it was something that was accepted. For a while, things changed. Thank God for people like LBJ in the civil rights movement and things like that made it different. So Austin was like a lot of other cities, but it was unlike a lot of cities. Now let's fast forward to today. I was thinking, I was saying to myself, I do talk to myself from time to time. Oh, I'm letting my peppermint tea get cold. Still hot. I was saying to myself, if I was a young man coming up, I wouldn't want to live here. I would not want to live here. That's what I was saying to myself. The traffic is terrible. Let me use a word that George Bush made. He took terrible and horrible and put them together and called it horrible. The traffic is horrible here. Why would anybody want to be in this rat race? And the reason is because of technology and the job market and all the rich people. I forgot how many, but there's a lot of rich folks, millionaires in Austin, Texas, billionaires in Austin, Texas. Of course, I'm not one. Why did I mention that? Of course, I'm not one. But that's not the reason I wouldn't want to live here. It's just, I don't feel that Austin is a great place to relax and to enjoy. Now, don't get me wrong, there's a lot to do in Austin. There's a lot of different activities. But then I got to thinking, where else would I want to live than Austin, Texas? Because Austin has one thing that I don't know, I haven't been to most cities, but it's a friendly city. One time it was called, Austin the friendly city. I don't think they say that anymore because so many people have died, moved out, and other people moved in. But Austin is still a good place to live. It's a good place to live because there's so much diversity here, everywhere. It's probably one of the most diversified cities in the United States. and there's a culture city. There's so much to enjoy here, no matter what your persuasion is, no matter what you want to enjoy. So I was thinking, is Austin a good city to live in, or is it terrible? To me, it's nowhere near the city I grew up in. But things change. So Austin is still my hometown. See y'all later.